effective.
Give you one retort, and then we're going to get to the phones. Go ahead.
You bet. What I'm looking at is the use in the neighboring jurisdiction, not the use in the jurisdiction we're talking about. And when we look at the neighboring jurisdiction, double. And I'll show that document.
There are 11 American states that decriminalized the possession of marijuana. 10 of them still have it decriminalized. And the studies, and again, I refer you to the Canadian Centre on Substance Abuse study, the government organization, concluded that the rates of consumption in the states that decriminalized the possession of marijuana did not increase any more than in neighboring states. So in other words, rates went up and down over time with...
Okay. Gentlemen, you have staked out your positions rather clearly. Our viewers are most anxious to get involved here, so let's put the question out there. Are our marijuana laws out of date? Give us a shout if you like. We've got... Lines look pretty full right now, but let's give it a shot anyway. 1-888-STUDIO-2 is the number. 1-888-788-3462. And without further ado, let us go west to Burlington, where, Allison, you are our first call tonight. Go ahead, please.
Hi, nice to meet you, and thanks for listening to me tonight.
Not at all.
I actually have been smoking marijuana medicinally for about 6 months now. I smoke about a quarter ounce a week.
What do you have that requires you to take it?
I have multiple sclerosis, and I'm dealing with Tic-Dol-Larue as a side effect of the multiple sclerosis.
You're dealing with what, I'm sorry?
Tic-Dol-Larue.
What is that?
It's trigeminal neuralgia. It's a stabbing pain in your face that shifts spots, and I'm lucky at tag teams. It gives me some relief. But anyway, smoking is the only thing that my doctors and I can find between us that works. I have gone from every medication possible, and morphine is completely out because they feel it will not touch the pain in my face. The only time I find that I'm actually able to move is when I actually have smoked a half of a cigarette, and I'm then able to sort of be out in the community again. And I'm at home on disability full-time, and I find I can't function without it. And I think our laws definitely need to be changed. They're definitely outdated, and I find them very hypocritical.
Allison, let me ask you a silly question here, but where do you get it?
Actually, I buy it illegally off the street any place I can.
And your doctor obviously approves?
Doctors approve. They won't donate to my fund, but they certainly approve of me doing it, and they feel it's the only thing as of right now that will help me. And they also feel that it is not an addictive drug, and it's far less harmful than the morphine derivatives I'm trying to.
How much you spend a week on marijuana?
Approximately a week, about $80 to $100.
And let me guess, OHIP doesn't cover it?
OHIP does not cover it.
Didn't think so. Okay, well, let me get, thank you for getting through tonight, Allison. Let me ask Grant Hill, I mean, in a case such as this, can you really deny her this opportunity?
Well, Allison's story is such a sad story that she has pain and unremitting pain that she says she cannot find relief for. This is one of the opening the door to marijuana use. It's been touted for AIDS, for an anti-nausea property. It's been touted for MS. It's been touted for glaucoma.
Glaucoma, cancer.
But I have looked at very carefully the medical data on this issue. And Allison says there's nothing else that can help her. My heart goes out to her. But I have not found in double-blind studies that this is actually the case. And I believe people, not those who are suffering, but other individuals who would want marijuana use to increase for some other reason, are using issues like this to crack the door open.
But it doesn't sound like she's representing some political action committee
she's
here.
not.
She just wants it for pain relief.
If a responsible adult decides that they feel that that substance improves the quality of their life, who are we, as you're a legislator, who is Parliament, who are the parliamentarians to be able to say that, no, you can't do that? This is one of the things. I had a woman call me, and these are all anecdotal situations, yes, but I've spoken to many people who claim that they do feel relief from it. And why are we stopping people from using it? This is the medical marijuana issue, which of course is sort of a side issue in some ways, but it's an extremely important one.
Allison, I'm glad you got through tonight. Thanks very much for calling.
Thanks so much.
Take care. Robert is calling from Toronto. You're next on Studio 2. Go ahead.
Hi.
Hi, Robert.
Hi. I just wanted to say that I think I represent a lot of people in your audience, in that I'm a responsible adult with a family. I have 2 teenagers and an 8-year-old at home. And cannabis has been a part of our household for 20 years now. And I think that we've used it, medicinally for, nausea and things like that. But adults in our family use it recreationally.
How about the kids, Robert?
I think we set a fine example for the kids. The kids aren't all that interested, frankly. They've experienced it in the sense of, if they're having a problem with nausea or something like that, it's not unfamiliar to them. We don't hide what we do from the kids.
So you think by making it less taboo, you have in fact demystified the whole thing?
Oh, I think they have a much healthier attitude. In fact, we've used it as an opportunity to raise issues. We've discussed the law with them.
But have they ever tried it?
Sure.
They have tried it.
Well, not the 8-year-old, no.
Not the 8-year-old, but your 13-year-old has tried it.
No, we have a 16 and 17-year-old.
Excuse me. Sorry. All right. Well, I know what you think about that. Now let me get to you on that, Eugene. I mean, is this appropriate?
Well, I don't. Let me put it this way: I don't see anything particularly wrong with a family sitting down at dinner and having wine, and perhaps exposing their children to that at some point when they feel their children are of sufficient age to be introduced to this. It's something. It's part of the socialization of children, and in the same sense, it's very hard for me to argue that it would be wrong to do it with cannabis.
Oh, but wine's legal and cannabis isn't. That's
I know, but this is, I'm talking of the, let's talk about the properties of the substance. There's no particular reason for not doing it.
Robert, Robert, let me ask you one last question, and that is, you know, presumably you're a mostly law-abiding guy who's trying to impress upon your children the importance of following laws in a society like ours. Do you do that when you so apparently flout the law in their face?
Well, we've discussed it at great length. Like I say, it's been an important opportunity for the to raise these issues with the family. What's a good law? What's a bad law? When is it appropriate to break a law, and when is it inappropriate? The only thing that offends me is that I think anyone could walk into our household and they would see a pattern of behavior so far removed from what we think of as drug abuse or drug addiction that it becomes offensive that someone can, that we are forced into a position where we're vulnerable to fines, imprisonment, search, seizure, and all that nonsense, when I think most people would see us as a good Canadian family with real interest in civic issues and being good citizens.
Okay, fair enough. Thanks for calling tonight.
Welcome.
Let's go east to Kingston. Joyce, you're calling from Kingston. You're on Studio 2. Go ahead.
Oh, yes. Hi. Thank you, Pete. Steve.
Yes, what's on your mind tonight, Joyce?
I'm a real fan of yours. I have to count to 10 because I want to start saying things that aren't very nice to the doctor. He's hysterical. He has double vision, tunnel vision.
Well, in fairness, he hasn't been hysterical tonight. He's made his case very plainly.
He's a victim of a kind of hysteria. But I'll stop there because otherwise I will say some things that I'll regret. I think the laws are out of date. A matter like this should be a matter of a personal choice whether people will use something like this. Robert, just prior to me, I'm getting a little nervous and breathless.
It's okay. Joyce, let me come in with a question here. Have you tried it yourself?
Yes, I have. I'm a 63-year-old grandmother. I used it a few times when I was in my early 40s.
Do you still do it?
No, I never do. I get more of a kick from a drink of scotch, which I still do, but I never, ever touch the stuff anymore. But it's not that I'm against it. It just doesn't do anything for me, but I don't consider it harmful.
Okay.
I think that because of the medical issue, it should be available to people who need it for medical reasons. Allison was a perfect example.
Yeah.
I don't see how anybody can turn a blind eye to that and be so cruel and cold-hearted.
Well, the argument, Joyce, was that it's the thin edge of the wedge, of course.
That's not an argument, because
Okay.
if it's a matter of choice, we do an awful lot more harm is done every year by people getting drunk and getting in an automobile and going out and killing other people.
Well, this is true. Let me bring up that issue of resources for a second with Grant Hill from the Reform Party. If you have a finite number of resources, as we do in this country, to chase after the things that we think are truly terrible, are we wasting way too much time going after people who smoke marijuana and not enough going after people who are involved in A, much more violent offenses, or B, I mean, as she suggests here, how about, drinking and driving, for example?
Well, the practical way the laws handle this issue is really much as you've said. Very few young offenders who get involved with marijuana go through the court system. Most are summary convictions. They get a criminal record that's very short. It's not a long-term thing. Our law officers and our justice individuals are not spending all their time here. They're spending, I hope, most of their time going after the pushers, those individuals who are importing and whatnot. We heard about a big fine for that.
But if you're
that's an area where I think our resources should be spent.
But unfortunately, they are not going after the pushers. I think, first of all, we create the pushers through the criminal prohibition of drugs. So the legislation has created the problem just as it did with prohibition in the 1920s. But a lot of our resources are devoted to the prosecution of people for simple possession of marijuana. It's a gross misapplication of resources. And it's something that actually, I don't think you're hysterical, by the way. I think we just have a different way of reaching some common goals. But it's a gross misapplication of resources. The Reform Party is surely interested in seeing wasteful government spending stopped. And I can't think of a more wasteful area of government expenditure than the prosecution of people for the simple possession of marijuana. And those criminal records stay with them. Believe me, they stay with them for a long time.
I don't want to cut off the viewers, but the other issue that has been raised here is intoxication. This Joyce just mentioned people being intoxicated. We haven't talked about the level of intoxication from marijuana. It's not well known, but of the truck accidents in Canada now, there are more truck accidents where the drivers are impaired with marijuana than with alcohol. This is an intoxication that has very similar effects to driving ability.
Tell me this, you're a doctor, you should know this. Is marijuana a habit or an addiction?
It can become an addiction. It can. The trouble with marijuana is it's not quickly removed from our body. It takes 9 months for the cells to get rid of the cannabinoids from our fatty cells. It's not a quick metabolized substance.
Well, if it can be addictive, does throwing people in jail help cure the addiction?
No, not at all. And we're not talking about, at least I'm not talking about that mechanism to throw people in jail for their addiction. I believe that education is far more useful. But I go back to those jurisdictions wherein marijuana has been decriminalized or legalized. Okay. And it has not been effective.
Well, that's where I guess we have a fundamental disagreement. The jurisdictions, the 11 American states that decriminalized possession of marijuana, the Netherlands, look at South Australia, look at the Australian Capital Territory.
Well, we will disagree on that. I need my charts.
Okay, how about this? True or false? Some common perceptions here. We heard in the background piece that marijuana, the police would suggest, can be a gateway drug. You start with marijuana, you go on to bigger and worse stuff. Is that true?
I'll bet you that every marijuana user who went on to cocaine also drank milk. Just because you use one substance and then use another substance does not mean that the use of the first substance caused you to use the second substance. If there is a gateway drug, it's my understanding that it's most likely tobacco. We should be going after tobacco, which is a far more lethal substance, a far more damaging substance.
We are going after tobacco. You ever tried to have a cigarette in a restaurant in this town?
On the question of impairment, we would still want to see criminal penalties for impaired operation of motor vehicles. I mean, we're talking about, we don't want to see harm caused to other people. I mean, we're very much on side with that.
Okay, let's get back to the phones.
On something.
We're discussing tonight whether or not the marijuana laws in this country have to change. The federal government is investigating it right now. They're looking into it, and we want your views on this issue as well. And Marty, I thank you for calling from Ottawa and for waiting for us to get to you. Go ahead.
Hi, how are you tonight?
Hi, good, thank you.
That's good. I just want everything I wanted to say is pretty well all been said so far, but...
nice to talk to you, Marty. Good night, then.
It should have been,
I'll say it again anyway.
It all should be legalized. I've been doing it for about 8 years.
I was going to say, Marty, you sound like a dope smoker.
Oh, yeah, well, I'm just ready to go out right now and do one.
Now, Marty, where do you get it?
Hey?
Where do you get it?
Street.
Street, meaning what? You know people in the street in the neighborhood?
In the neighborhood, and it's just, I don't know, it's expensive right now, and if the government would legalize it, I think it would be a little bit cheaper, even if they could control the THC level in it and made it cheaper and sell it like packs of cigarettes or something.
Well, there'd still be a black market anyway, even if you legalized it, wouldn't there?
Oh, probably, because we'd want more THC in it than if they were to cut down the THC, probably.
How much money you spend a week, Marty, on marijuana?
The past month I've been spending quite a bit, but before that it was maybe $50 a week.
And now more, what, 100, 200 bucks a week?
No, maybe close to about 75, 80.
75 or 80 bucks a week.
Yeah.
Is that the best way to spend that money?
No, not really. I'm a single dad. I got a kid I can spend it on too, but I spend money on him too and stuff.
All right. We're glad you got through tonight, Marty.
Thank you.
Take care.